Today we saw the absolute best of Paul Pogba and the absolute worst. We saw Anthony Martial deservedly win man of the match and Nemanja Matic in a midfield where the game passed him by. But ultimately the result, Manchester United 2, Everton 1, is all that really matters. And after that Juventus game, you needed United to just sort of put that to one side and try and continue a bit of momentum that we gained in the Premier League against Chelsea. And we absolutely did that today. For the first 75 minutes, it's the most controlled I've ever seen Manchester United play this season, I would say, probably. Without Romelu Lukaku, which I certainly think contributed to that, Man United's tempo in the passing, tempo in the movement, the whole tempo of our game was very, very good today up against an Everton team who are on a decent run of form. An Everton team who have been playing well under Marco Silva. And it certainly wasn't a game where I expected United to just completely breeze past Everton. But we did for the first 75 minutes. And as I said, that tempo of play and movement from Fred and Pogba in midfield were fantastic. Rashford's moves and his movement up front with Lukaku out of the team, Rashford was causing Everton's defence problems with his movement. Not so much with his end product. I think he was actually quite ineffective today as an isolated number 9. But luckily for him, Anthony Martial was bang on form. It was his run and his movement that caused the penalty. Was it a penalty? Probably not. It looked like Gay got the ball. But from the initial point of view, it's half of the referee's call. So I'm going to take that. And Paul Pogba, let's discuss that penalty run-up, because I think now is a time where you've got to say, look, man, just stop it. Please just stop it. Missed his last 2 penalties. Luckily, Pickford's great save, but Pogba was there on the rebound to make it 1-0 to Manchester United. And Paul Pogba's game, as I said, you saw the worst and the best of Paul Pogba today. The best in the fact that he was very much in a controlling mood in midfield. He was linking up the midfield to the attack and defence as well. Great runs, incisive movement, doing everything in midfield that you want Paul Pogba to do. But then he had that run-up for the penalty. And the only reason Everton got back into that game was because Paul Pogba decided to showboat in the middle of the pitch and lost the ball. Then, Tosin was put through and Chris Smalling lunged in with the worst tackle you're ever going to see. Didn't need to go down. He shouldn't have caused that penalty. But ultimately, the ball should never have been there because Paul Pogba shouldn't have lost it. Now, I love Paul Pogba. He's our top goal scorer this season. Best player we've got in this squad. But you see things like that and it makes it hard to defend because it's just completely unnecessary. And when he's playing so well, we shouldn't be talking about these individual moments. But for a player of his quality, he shouldn't be having moments like that in the game. You know, that run-up is absolutely pointless. I understand a stuttering run-up when it adds to the penalty, but Pogba's run-up doesn't put the keeper off. It doesn't help him. I don't think it's necessary anymore. After he's missed his last 2, just revert to banging it in the top corner. It's much, much easier. But I think, as I said, the main thing I want to take away from the game today is that United looked a lot different without Romelu Lukaku. Now, I'm not saying that Lukaku should be dropped every single week because he absolutely shouldn't. But United played differently without Lukaku than we would have done if Lukaku was in the starting 11. You know, because when he is in that starting 11, we play around him. You start knocking balls long to him so he can chest it down and bring players into play. Without him there, we couldn't do that. And then you saw Pogba and Fred playing more fluid football on the pitch. And when you've got Martial and Rashford and Mata there as well, you're going to get great link-up play. And that's what we saw today from Manchester United. And I think it was one of the most assured performances I've seen from United at Old Trafford, other than the last 20 minutes. And United really shouldn't be doing that. You know, Martial should have made it 3-1 in the 94th minute when he was put through 1-1 with Pickford. But at that point, the game shouldn't have been 2-1. It was 2-0 and United were in complete control. But we took our foot off the gas and we let Everton back in with a slip. It was our own fault that Everton got back into that game. You know, luckily we held on. I say maybe not lucky's probably the wrong word, but we just didn't need to make that as difficult for ourselves in the last 20 minutes as it was. But United got 3 points. So nobody's going to be complaining too much. But I think the interesting part to take away, as I said, is just how different United looked without Romelu Lukaku. When he was on the pitch from when he was off the pitch. Rashford might not be the right man to start every single week up front as the number 9. Maybe Alexis Sanchez should be coming in there and playing in that role because he did play so well down the middle for Arsenal as well. But it's just interesting how different I felt United play. And I haven't really seen United play with that sort of tempo from the first whistle for a long, long time. You know, it was 2-0, but Pickford made a wonderful save from a Paul Pogba shot down to his left. Martial certainly should have scored there at the end. There's 4 goals. United could have scored 4 easily today. And you can't say that about United too many times this season. And after the disappointment of Juventus, to do that was important. And now we've got, I think, is it Bournemouth coming up next? I don't think we've got a midweek game this week. And then obviously we've got a little tricky trip away to Juventus in the Champions League, which is now a must-win game after losing at home to them. And then we've got Man City away in the league. And in between that, we've got Bournemouth winning again this weekend against Fulham. I think it was 3-0 they won. I think it was Fulham they played. Callum Wilson firing on all cylinders this season. It won't be an easy game. We won away at Bournemouth last year. But let's see what goes on there. But for me, the main points today, Anthony Martial, rightly the man of the match. He is the man banging form and the man making all the difference for United going forward at the moment. Paul Pogba, brilliant in midfield, but that showboating on the penalty and the showboating in the middle of the pitch at 2-0, both unnecessary mistakes that he didn't need to make. And it was his own doing. So you can't defend that. But I want to see how United now go into this Bournemouth game. Does Romelu Lukaku come back in? Or does Jose Mourinho keep him out of the team just for the time being? Because, as I said, without him there, the tempo that United played was fantastic for the majority of that game. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, drop a like on the video and subscribe to United People's TV. Take it easy.